This podcast discusses themes of mental health, which some people may find emotive, such as suicide or other adult-themed content. The information contained in this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. All views expressed are solely those of individuals involved and do not represent the opinions of any entity whatsoever with which we have been, are now, or will be affiliated. The information is not meant to diagnose or treat any mental health condition. If you're experiencing mental health symptoms, we encourage you to contact a mental health service within your community. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please seek the relevant support and interventions by presenting to your local accident and emergency department or contacting the relevant emergency services.
You're listening to the Men's Mental Health Podcast, The Man Hug.
Welcome to The Man Hug, the monthly men's mental health podcast. I'm Dean McShane.
I'm Dan Cooper. I'm Ian Pearce-Hayes.
And I'm Conleth Kelly.
Each month we will discuss a different topic related to men's mental health, which will include a guest speaker who will discuss their own personal story. And each month we will also be showcasing an organisation or charity within the Merseyside area who work within mental health to help build your signposting skills. Hello, welcome to the latest Man Hug. It is our second birthday edition and we've got two more amazing guests. So later on we'll be joined by Jake Mills, who everyone knows from the first episode. He also joined us on our first birthday, and Jake's back for our second birthday to talk all about the Hub of Hope 2.0. Our first guest is Steve Pilgrim. So Steve, welcome so much for joining us on the Man Hug.
Absolute pleasure. It's nice to be here.
Rather than me just sort of like say who you are and, you know, go through your Wikipedia and things, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a Liverpool-based musician. I've been for my whole working life pretty much, and I've played drums for Paul Weller a lot of the time. I started out with a group called The Stands in Liverpool, and I've worked with lots of other musicians over the years. So I've been a musician mainly, and then in more recent years I've started to promote shows in a small church in Egbert, and I've been involved with charities and other things.
Amazing.
Which we can chat about.
So being a musician, I suppose, you know, most young lads from Liverpool, it's their dream, isn't it, you know, to be a musician, make a living from it and things. Tell us about how you got into that sort of journey of becoming a musician.
I'd always been keen as a kid. I'd had a drum kit since I was really small, and my parents thankfully decided to give me a kit when I was little. And I always loved it. I was always in bands at school and joined original bands when I was a teenager. So once I left uni, it was like I had an opportunity to join a group and decided, I'll give it a shot. And then I joined the Stands, and then quite very, very quickly, it was like just luck. It felt more like luck than judgment. We got a record deal, like our demo got picked up by Noel Gallagher, and then it was like it all just blew up dead fast. So I it wasn't by design really, other than I was giving it a go. And that was it. After the Stands, I went to play with John Power and artists called Sophie Solomon, and through other contacts with different producers. I worked with different artists and toured with different people. And then a few years later, I got the call from Paul, because I'd worked with a producer that had worked with the Stands on our first album, and Paul was looking for a kit player, and I got this phone call out of the blue. It was like I'd won the lottery or something. So yeah, and I've been doing it ever since. I've been like 18 years with Paul now. So wow. It's all happened by accident, mate. Yeah. Basically, I can trace it all back to a conversation that happened in a pub between an old band leader who was the first singer of my first band as a teenager, and he was chatting to Howie Payne in the bar about local musicians and how he was looking for a kit player. And he said, I know this lad Steve who used to play with us, he'd be good. And so I can sort of trace it back to this chat, because Howie then called me, and that's how I got the gig with the Stands. And if I wouldn't have got the gig with the Stands, we wouldn't have supported Paul Weller, and I wouldn't have got the call from Paul Weller. So it's basically a pub chat in Stamps in about 2002. Sort of thereabouts, I can sort of trace it back to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
I thought Paul Weller was your singer. I didn't think it was the other way around. That's the way it was. I'm in shock.
Yeah. So during that time, I mean, you know, it sounds incredible. You know, I suppose you've been all around the world and touring and things like that. How do you sort of like reflect on that today?
It's been a whirlwind. I don't remember a lot of it, if I'm honest. And like, that's not to say it was like totally hedonistic or anything, but there's just been so many shows, and I don't have the best memory, but I just feel really lucky. Like music has literally taken me around the world like multiple times, and I'm still in the game, just about holding on in there, and still get to do it. You know, so it's great. Like, yeah, it's not always easy, you know. Being a professional musician, I think, as we're on a mental health podcast, like I know you're like 4 times more likely to suffer with a mental health issue if you work in the music sector, because of job instability. I think that is part of that, and partly because I think maybe it attracts people that are more vulnerable, possibly because people are looking for an outlet for something, or I don't know. I think there's probably a number of explanations and understandings as to why that's the case, but there's certainly vulnerability that goes with the music industry, and there's a downside, as there's downsides as well as upsides.
No, it's a really important point, isn't it? We've had musicians on the podcast before who've said exactly the same. You know that you know it's kind of you say that lottery winning moment when you get the record deal, or you're going on a world tour, or you're playing festivals that you used to attend. All of these amazing things. But I suppose the public don't kind of see all of the additional stresses as well. You know, I remember might have been Simon from Boo Radley's was telling us, Sice, and he was saying about, you know, one of the things people don't kind of think about is that, you know, you spend a lot of time either on a tour bus or in a hotel room, and you're very nocturnal, and all of these things that impact on your well-being, really. Yeah,
and there's a lack of. I mean, you get a sort of a temporary family when you're out with the band. Sort of, there's a sort of a family dynamic set up there of some sort, but you do lack like plugging into normal community life. And I've been on the road so long, I miss weddings, I miss funerals, I miss really key events because I can't not do the work. So it's kind of like it's a strange thing that it has over you. It's got all this freedom and stuff, but
it's so true, isn't it? You know, things like that, you know, missing weddings and funerals, and, you know, being away from your family as well. It's a significant thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. And those things add up over the years, you know. And the fact that you're coming and going, it's harder to hold on to friendships sometimes, like at home, you know, because people get on with their lives and stuff. So it's an interesting sort of place to be, you know. But also my closest friends and most valuable relationships come from music and come from other musicians, so there's that side of it's good as well. Yeah,
amazing. What sort of things have you developed over the years, you know, from touring and that, where you use to keep yourself mentally well? You know, is the things that you use for your own well-being?
Over the more recent years, talking to people, like chatting to my bandmates about stuff that's bothering me, and over the years that have gone on, I suppose I've become a lot closer to people in that way, and I've helped other people in that regard, you know, get through some dark times, you know. So yeah, talking's important. Exercise, trying not to drink too much, which is easier said than done when you're on a rock and roll tour bus. Those kinds of things, eating well, speaking to your family. Those kinds of things help.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So talking, I mean, that's literally the top answer we're expecting from everyone, you know, and that's what we want. That's the whole point of this podcast, really, is to get men talking. How easy do you find that is within the sort of music industry, you know, with bandmates and I suppose everyone that's on the road with you? Is it a comfortable environment to be able to talk about problems?
It's getting better. Like, I've seen a shift over the years, and I think that certainly like the younger guys that I play with are much more open to that. There's a sort of old guard of people who might be 15, 20 years older than me, who are a bit more stiff upper lip and kind of contained, less willing to be vulnerable. But actually I've found particularly the younger guys, people my age and younger in particular, are happy to just let it all out and go, oh, this is really worrying me, this is really bothering me, this is really stressing me out, or whatever it might be, and just helps take the edge off, you know. And, yeah,
that's really positive, isn't it? You know, and I think we've seen quite a bit of a movement over the last however many years within the music industry for looking after people's mental health. Charities like Tonic, and obviously we've had sort of quite popular musicians come out and talk about their mental health openly as well, which, you know, normalises the conversation as well, really. But it's nice to hear that especially the younger generation seem to be able to talk about that now, really.
Yeah. I think it's definitely improving. That seems to be the case from my perspective anyway. But it's an isolating space. You're travelling around, going to spaces, there's no one there, you're turning up into a dressing room. You know, if you're touring on your own, it can be a very, very lonely experience, you know. So it's kind of, you can totally understand why people can find themselves like with no one to talk to, or not feeling like they can talk to people or whatever. So it's good that there are those voices out there trying to champion things and open the conversation.
Yeah. I remember Terry Hall being an ambassador for Tonic was a really big moment, wasn't it? You know, for people just, you know, normalising that. Oh, it can happen to him and it can happen to me, and I'll talk about it. And it's a really positive thing. And I think one of the things that was really interesting as well that came out from it is that often we forget about, you know, the sound engineers and the photographers and the merch guys and everyone else that is, you know, also on the road and away from their families as well. So it's a bigger picture, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think within those networks, that I think that's getting better as well, you know. The culture's changing a little bit, I think. Yeah,
that's really positive. So you yourself as a solo musician, I know you have people within your own sort of band. How do you sort of like find the process of music for your own mental health and well-being? Do you find like your writing in particular, is that something that you use as a sort of a form of therapy?
Yeah. 1,000,000%, yeah. Because as a songwriter and as a lyricist, it's a really handy way to let stuff out and let your pain and your insecurity and your fear and try and make sense of difficult things. I think the main reason I write music really isn't for anybody else. It's mainly just for me, if I'm honest. And if there's a few people that are interested in it alongside that, then that's great. You know, I can play my songs to people and they listen. And I find the process of writing as a songwriter incredibly cathartic. And you can be any art, though. I think you could probably have the same result with painting or poetry or other creative outlets. But yeah, no, I think I find it really, really important for me. And yeah, I guess it's kept me sane. I think there seems to be an endless impulse to keep on doing it, even though, for whatever reason, even though there might not be anyone to hear it, it doesn't really matter. I kind of still want to do it.
That's really brilliant, isn't it? And I think, using that sort of creativity to be able to express emotions. And you rightly said there, it doesn't just have to be as songwriting. We've had lots of people on the podcast who express in different ways, whether it's poetry or art, as you say, or filmmaking, whatever it is. But it's such an important thing, isn't it? And helping you express and maybe process certain emotions and things that are going on in your life at the time. Does that come across in your songs, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And looking back on things, I can look back 10 years and go, oh, that's what that song was about. It's like a subconscious thing was coming out that I didn't even see it for what it was, till after the fact. So yeah, I definitely. 1,000,000%. Yeah.
Do you still get that excitement as well from producing songs and putting them together?
Yeah, there's a little bit of pressure with what I do because I make albums. I don't make singles, so there's always like a pressure to build a catalogue of stuff before I can go back into the studio. So there's always a little bit of like, I really need to finish. I need to look at finishing that, or I need to look at lyrics on this, or whatever. So it's not always easy, but the process, when I get into the process of writing or the process of recording or the process of working with other musicians or interacting with people, recording, engineers, all of that stuff is like, that's the fun bit, really. The pressures in getting the catalogue, the list, that's where the hard bit is. And then once I've got that, then that makes everything else is more enjoyable for me and easier for me. After that point, I think.
And what do you enjoy most, the songwriting and creativeness or the performing? I
like recording. So working in the studio is my happiest space. So once the songs are there, getting together with musicians and recording a version of it and having ideas in the space and trying different sounds or trying different things. That bit of the creative process is I find the most enjoyable.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and you mentioned at the start as well about you do a lot of promotion now for making your own gigs at St Michael's Live. So how did all of that happen? And
that happened by accident as well. There was the vicar at St Michael's Church was a governor at the primary school that our kids go to school at, and he said, "Oh, we're looking to do a fundraising event for the school. We're thinking about putting some kind of gig on in the church. Do you think you could help us out with that?" And I was like, yeah, fine. So he's like, "Oh, come and see the church." And then I walked into St Michael's and I was just like, wow. This is a gig. What, like, forget great, we want to make some money for the school, but this is a venue. Like, this is a thing, you know. So it was that, and then I managed to get a little bit of funding together from a friend, and we put a stage in, put a PA in, and we did that first fundraising gig for St Michael's in 2019, and then it started up 2021 properly, I think, and then it's sort of run as an ad hoc venue ever since. So we do like 1 or 2 shows a month now, and we've had some fantastic artists come and play in the space, and it keeps me out of trouble.
And you really get stuck in, don't you? When we go, you're there, you're introducing them, and at the end you're clearing away everyone's bottles and everything. It's really hands-on, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's it's quite nice. It's like because I've managed to avoid proper work for most of my life, so it's good. It's throwing some cans in the recycling. It's like that's absolutely fine. I've got no issue with that at all.
Honestly, I always say to everyone, I think it's my favourite venue because you just feel like part of something really special, because every concert I've been to there, everyone just knows when to be quiet at the right times, and everyone knows when to make noise at the right times. It's really special, isn't it? You don't kind of get that in any other venue, Yeah. So when you're booking these bands, is that something you think of, like, these are going to be perfect for this?
In the main, and like I've got my eyes set on people that I want to try and get hold of. It doesn't always come off a lot of the time, but we've had some great people, and people that are sympathetic to the space. The acoustic end of stuff generally, is what we're looking for. And I see it as like Liverpool's version of like Union Chapel, with the London Church. It's that kind of space, because there's something sort of irreverent about like the environment. Like, everybody comes in, and because the pews are there and it's a traditional church environment, there's an innate respect that people have for the space just coming into it, which adds something to the performance then that you wouldn't get in a club. People don't talk over the artists when they're playing, by and large, they don't, and that, I think that adds a little bit more magic to it.
I think I genuflected before I went into the pew. But it's just those little things, like, it's like the toilets. The ladies go to the toilet inside, and the lads go to the portaloos outside. It's all those little things, it's beautiful.
It just feels really special, doesn't it? Every time you go, and every time I've been there, you're just thinking about it for days. It just feels like a part of an experience rather than just going to a gig or a concert. And everyone I know who's been, so it's exactly the same. So keep them going, because honestly I think they're really special.
We'll try.
They really are incredible. So one thing as well that we know that you did, you set up a charity quite a few years back, so just tell us a little bit about this.
About 10, 12 years ago, something like that. It was an idea I'd had when I was on the road for trying to come up with a way to take 1% out of... I was thinking about hotel charges. This is how the idea came about. I was thinking about hotel charges, and now they added this on for that or that on for the other. and just thought, well, if you know, it's so obscene the amount of money that gets spent, right, by touring bands. Obscene, right? It seemed like, I was like, well, surely there'd be a way of adding some kind of little, you know, little tariff or little something onto these charges, so that to put it towards something, you know, supporting people that need it. And so I had this idea of like 1% services or 1% products. And I brought this little idea back to Liverpool and got chatting with business people that I knew, or friends of ours that were more in business than I was, and met with a guy called Matt Johnson, and we got chatting at a wedding, and he's like, oh, this is a thing, you should do this thing. And so I put a little A4 thing together, and we got a little gang of friends like round the table to talk about it. And then it was another friend of mine who said, well, what about 1% people? What about like 1% individuals? And then that was the seed of what became the charity, which was like all of us giving 1% of our income into a pot every month. I think it grew quite a lot early on. I think there's about 170 in the group now. It's not huge. It's not a huge charity. There's about 170 people give every month. And I think every month we raise about $3,500 now a month. So that's, over the years, it's getting on for like nearly $1 million it's raised, and it's like helped with vaccination projects in Africa, and you know, working with projects internationally that work in extreme poverty. Essentially, like that's what it's about. So it could be clean water projects, or it could be healthcare, or it could be mosquito nets, or whatever it is. And we just take this lump of fundraise money every month, give it to a partner charity who deliver that, and then it has like a monthly impact every month. And I think according to the stats, it's like impacted about 760,000 individuals in some small way so far.
That's amazing.
So it seems quite cool that it's just a little gang, mainly from Liverpool, of about 170 people, just collectively throwing in every month.
It just shows what you can do, though, doesn't it? You know, like the power, as you say, 1%, but to have that impact globally, that's incredible.
So if anyone that wants to join or find out about more, I know times are hard. That's the thing when you're talking about economic cost of living and everything. Giving gets more difficult for people. But anyone that's interested in giving collectively to something, the website's now BeOnePercent, and you can find out all the information in the background of the organisation. It's been going over 10 years now.
Wow, well done. It's
an
amazing thing to come from an idea, and you know, to see the positive impact it's having in places. That's incredible.
Wow. And there's a great gang of people who run it, and I was a trustee for a long time. I'm no longer on the board of trustees because I'd been doing it so long. It was like, come on, you need to go now, Steve. You've hung around long enough. But the guy, I know all trustees, and they work really hard to find the right partners and work with high impact organisations. And so I think it's I'm really pleased to still be part of it, and chuck me a little bit in every month and be part of that impact. Is like it's a good way to try and connect with something that isn't just yourself, or
it's amazing.
Your own little world,
And on to yourself then. So you've got a tour coming up. So you're going out on the road on your own? Yeah,
I've got some solo shows in May. I'm up in Scotland, and I'm going to Glasgow, and I've got Liverpool, London, Brighton, a couple of other places. Not massive, couple of solo shows, and then hopefully some full band stuff later in the year when I can gather the troops for it and do something, maybe at the church again, probably at the church again. It's such a nice space.
Yeah, definitely. So these solo shows, is that something that you look forward to going out and doing, just being on your, on your own? And
I like connecting with the crowd. It's nice to like play to people and have the response of people when you're expressing yourself. It's encouraging when people come in at the end and going, that really connected with me, or that song's really important to me, or whatever it is. For me, for my self-confidence as a writer and as a creator, like to have validation is like really, really important to keep me motivated to think, oh, it's not worth, you don't quit yet, you know, it's worth carrying on. So yeah, it's good to connect. I love playing when I can afford to play with a full band. I love to play with a full band. I can't afford to tour with a full band. That's not the size of the stuff I'm doing, unfortunately. But whenever we get to do full band shows, they're a delight because you're playing with other people and they're enjoying themselves, and you know, that's the best, really.
Yeah, it must be so rewarding. It's a pure labour of love, and I know the effort you put into making these albums. You know, it's a hard slog, isn't it? And you know, you put so much hard work into it, and then I suppose to do them live, and
it's got harder. I think just economically, it's such a difficult trade now with the streaming services is not paying out to the majority of creatives. Like, it means you've got to kind of you've got to really slog at it to make it function financially. So just to go out on the road on my own is tricky, like to make enough to sell enough tickets, sell enough vinyl on the merch stand, and you know, cover your petrol or your hotel for the night, or your B&B or whatever it is. Like, to just sort of make things workable and keep the wheels turning is getting harder and harder for I think across the sector completely. So it's tricky. Like, the financial pressure is really tricky. But more broadly, like, to have the support of people, that's what keeps you going and what keeps me going back out anyway.
Yeah, because that's just one of the things you just reminded me about. Some of the bands needing support, like, you know, the first venue I took my wife to, concert in St Michael's, was to see Casino playing. Like, you know, brilliant band. We saw them donkeys ago. Like, you know, it is trying to help support people like that. But I know I'm bringing in a connection here, segue and stuff. But I always remember watching the film Jerusalem, the Style Council film, whatever, and there's a bit where they take a Mickey, goes, oh yeah, we were at grammar school and we went and we thought, let's do this, whatever, all middle class, upper class kids doing all these things, whatever. And it's those of, you know, it's creativity, and you know, it's this kind of punk thing that actually does come from working class, this anarchism, like, you know, Kneecap, for example, like, you know, been going for a long time, and it's just trying to help mold that, not mold it, but help just support people that got so much to say. It's just they haven't got that financial backing, that supportiveness. Like, I remember Kneecap, like, you know, years ago, they were being evicted because they couldn't pay the rent and where they lived and things like this, but they stuck at it. Yeah, I said about Ian as well, my dad knew Seamus Heaney, and Seamus Heaney be on the bones of his ass, like, you know, and my dad would be giving him stuff, here, take this, but he stuck at it and things like this, but because he had that support. And it is, and just thinking, you know, is it becoming more of a middle class, up class kind of?
It has, sadly. Like, unless you've got someone backing you, it's really, really difficult to make it work. And I've seen so many fantastic young bands and young artists like go to the wall and just call it a day. They've given it a shot, but to cut it is so difficult. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, other than to say, like, the people that run Spotify and the streaming services need to remunerate artists properly, and they don't. You know, that's the biggest issue for me, in the big picture. But people going out to support bands live, people buying merchandise from the merchandise stand directly from the artists is often the best way to literally pay. You're paying their petrol money, you're paying for their hotel that night when you buy the t-shirt. And
I think you're often paying as well, giving them the chance to go back into a studio and record as well. You know, when we were in bands ourselves, it's the main thing. If you sold a few CDs on the night, oh great, we can go and do the next one.
That's a lump of money. Absolutely.
So important,
and it's still the case. If it wasn't for people buying vinyl, like, there's no way my streaming income would go anywhere near to cover the cost of making the thing. So it's kind of, it's really essential, like, that people get on board with supporting art where they can, you know. And again, back to the cost of living thing, that's not always easy, you know. People have got different priorities, but if you've got a record player you know, buy some original music from an artist that you see in a venue, because they'll really thank you for it. You know,
it's so important, isn't it?
We've got a record shop in Nantwich, and the guy who runs that, he's now started putting artists on in the local civic hall, and we had lottery winners on the other week, and when you bought a ticket to go and watch them, part of the deal was they didn't have to, but they would have liked you to buy the record as well. And that's what he does. So when he's putting these artists on, you buy the vinyl because he knows that he's going to make a bit of money from it, from the record shop, but the artists are going to make the money from that as well as the money from the gig. And I think it's just a great concept to help support,
It's not kind of a new concept. It's been doing it for years, hasn't it? But it's become more
it's
popular.
becoming a growing thing, and in-store events and that stuff of people. You getting your vinyl like wrapped in with the ticket price, and that kind of thing is like becoming much more.
That's it.
Like,
or people pre-ordering the album as well, because again, it's going to pay what you've just spent in the studio. Things.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So the big plugs then, Steve. Like, we want everyone to get out there, go and buy your album, buy a t-shirt on the way out. But no, importantly, how can they sort of like follow you and look for your
They
music?
can follow for my music on the stuff I'm doing with that. They can follow my Instagram, Steve Pilgrim Music. For the events at the church, they can follow St. Michael's Live on Instagram, and they can find the Be1 Foundation for all the charity related stuff. And I've got a gig, if there's Liverpool listeners, and this show goes out before May 22nd, I've got a gig upstairs at Leith on May 22nd.
Oh, amazing! Yeah.
That's my next show.
May 22nd.
May, I think it's Thursday the 22nd of May.
We love Leith, great venue.
Yeah,
so get down there, go and see Steve, go and support him. Buy a vinyl on the way out.
Buy if you can, if you can afford it.
Yeah, do. Well, thanks so much, Steve. Honestly, we're made up to our viewers. Say it's our little birthday special, and we were going to try and drag you to our karaoke rehearsal tonight. Probably the worst thing that we could do is subject you to us singing, to be honest. But amazing. Thanks so much. Good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you.
We can't praise everything you've done in terms of the charity and St. Michael's. It's just so refreshing.
Great.
We love it, mate. It's brilliant. Keep it going, and we'll come and support you as well. Your albums are amazing. Live music, we'll love it. Amazing.
Thank you. So I'll keep doing what you're doing. Yeah.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Steve.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
You're listening to the Men's Mental Health Podcast, The Man Hug.
Well, it's this part of the Man Hug now where us, the hosts, we discuss the theme, and the theme being reflection. We decided to put this in with linking it to our two guests, but also for ourselves. We have reached a milestone. We have reached our second birthday, which
happy birthday,
people, yeah, happy birthday, guys.
Dan,
yeah,
Conliffe.
Yeah, happy birthday. And the reason I think it's nice to reflect is that if you look at the stats, if you look at the data, a lot of podcasts don't make it this far. The average podcast's about 6 months or 7 or 8 episodes. And we're marching along pretty steadily over 20 odd.
What do you mean by marching on? That's a very Leeds kind of thing.
Oh, God, he always has to. It's an Ocean Coliseum one. But we are steadily moving forward, and we're reaching these milestones. But I think it's a lovely thing to have done this over 2 years. And I suppose my kind of personal reflection on this is when we originally said, let's do a men's mental health podcast, and let's do one so that we can give guys a platform to tell their stories in the hope that it gives people inspiration and encourages people to go and get help and support when they need it. I think we said if we can reach out to one man and change their life, that'll be a great thing for us to do. I think we've done that and more. We've had some incredible comments recently. We asked our social media, what's been your favourite episode and why? And we had some incredible responses. I want to thank everyone, especially who engages with our social media, because we want this to be a community. We've always wanted that, and it's a lovely thing to be part of. Our interaction with everyone on social media is a big part of this. But I got a little bit emotional when I was reading a lot of these responses because, as I say, it's amazing to see how many men in particular have gone out there after listening to an episode and gone, well, they went and got help, I can go and get it. Or now I know where to go and get help off the amazing services and organisations we have on here. So, yeah, I'm absolutely blown away by what this podcast's achieved. I really am. It's something I'm so proud of. And working with you guys, you know, I mean, three incredible men, and well, especially Conliffe, you know, three incredible men, and I think we've grown together as a bit of a team, and we are a little bit of a man hug team, and it's lovely, you know. We've spoke about having your own little squads where you can talk to other men when you need to, and I think we've got that here, and I think that's really special as well. But for me, I just want to say a massive thank you. I want to thank every man that's come on here, because we appreciate it's not an easy thing to do, but a lot of you have made it look easy, and that again is so inspirational. How you come on, you tell your story about maybe what is the most difficult time in your life, and a lot of you come in with so much wise knowledge and lived experience of this worked for me. Let's share it to promote that, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel for those dark days. The services and organisations that we get on, every single one, month by month, just blows me away. How people, often, whether bereaved by suicide, noticing that there's something not within their area, whatever it is that makes them go and set up those charities and organisations. Society's a better place for it, and, you know, we need to congratulate everyone that we've had on, and we will continue to do our best to promote all of these amazing charities and mental health organisations that are out there. We've got Jake Mills coming on in a minute, who was our first guest, and obviously Jake's whole story led to the creation of the Hub of Hope, and all of these charities and organisations are on there. So please, you know, we plug it all of the time. Go and download the Hub of Hope. You never know when you might need it to help someone, and signpost to these great charities and organisations that are out there. And boys, I'm looking forward to our little party later. We're going to go and do some karaoke. So I'm going to pass on to these guys before I get a bit emotional. So, Conliffe, over to you.
Yeah, well, just to reiterate everything you actually said there, Dean. I'm sure all the others say the same. Sometimes actually, you know, 2 years, you know, obviously a lot happens in 2 years, a lot of people's lives. You know, and one thing I do want to people to be aware of, don't think, oh, we've got it all right. Like, you know, we've got everything made and things like that. Like, you know, it is peaks and troughs, what you go through. There are times whenever, like, you know, doing the podcast today has really helped me a lot. It's made me laugh, whatever, because the three lads know I'm going through stuff at the minute as well. But it is peak and troughs, and it's around talking around these things, whatever. And yes, sometimes I'm still guilty of it. I know I need to share. I know I need to talk. I know I need to do these things, whatever. Sometimes I still don't do it. So, you know, I know there's the outlets out there, the things to do, and I know what I've got to do. But sometimes it is that difficult. You know, difficult situation maybe to open up, whatever. It can be hard. It can be difficult. But yeah, I'll just keep on going and just say, go back to what Dean said, keep marching on, you know, with Leeds United, who successfully got promoted.
Don't worry, we'll edit that bit out. Ian?
Two things, I guess, for me. It's absolutely humbling to be part of this. I knew from that very first episode with Jake Mills, and when he was talking the story, and just being absolutely caught up in him telling that the power of his story and his experience, and that's not changed. I've listened to a couple of episodes recently, the one with Ian Knott. I listened to Christopher Hughes talking about death, and Ian Knott about his own experiences, and it's just that I just think, gosh, how have people managed to talk through those such complicated and hard experiences? And I find that really humbling. And I think part of that for me is that, you know, Dean said about the friendship between ourselves, and I feel I've grown within this in terms of my mental health and well-being. It's really pushed me in some ways, in terms of to think about things, exactly what Conliffe was saying then about sharing and about talking, and it's just been such a positive thing through all that difficulties. And Dean's right, it's so important to talk. I've been on holiday recently, just come back, and again I had cards and stickers, and I was trying to post that, but I've got a friend who was there who listens to the podcast, so I've got new listeners out of the group that was there as well, and feedback from them, and I just think it's just so powerful. It's not about me or about us really, in a sense. It is in that to try and get those people to share their stories, but it's just so positive to hear men talking and overcoming some of those obstacles. So there is a way and a means, and I think it's to keep on going. And I think 2 years, it's been an amazing journey, I think. So yeah, it's just really pleased to be part of this. It's fabulous.
Yeah. So it's, as nurses, we kind of have reflection, sort of the importance of reflection shoved down our throats, every single day during our training. And as nurse lecturers, we've kind of done that as well. It's such an important thing to do. It took me a few years to actually realise the importance of reflection. That's probably because when I did a nurse training, I was in my mid-20s, and I didn't really take the time to sort of think about who I was and why I did certain things in a certain way, or what was important to me, and how I developed to get to where I got to in my life. And so after a few years of nursing reflection, then you start to think, well, I've got to reflect on my practice. And I think that there's lots of reflective sort of cycles, series, people have written, lots of things about reflection. For me, the best one, I think it's Sean who says reflection on practice and reflection in practice. So reflection on practice is something you do after the event, and I've done a lot of that during my career, and a lot of that over the last 2 years as to what the podcast means to me and what I've learned from it. And then there's reflection in practice as well. So in the moment, talking now, thinking about why now have I just gone up on a tangent talking about reflective cycles, but it's all relevant, isn't it? And it's just at this point I'd like to just say thanks to the lads for putting up with me over the last 2 years. We definitely have developed a brotherhood, and that's something in life that doesn't come along too often. A few of us have been in bands, and I think you get a similar sort of vibe when you're in a band with somebody that you develop that love for each other, that lifelong sort of friendship, which lives on long after perhaps the band splits up or anything. And I do feel that what we have developed here is sort of a group of lads who will hopefully be friends and support each other, way beyond wherever the podcast takes us. So I've got you all a little present today, so see if you can pick up on. You're going to hear some rustling now because I've got a plastic bag. So I've got you all the same present, so you don't feel left out. Right. I was scouring the streets of Liverpool for these earlier on, so you see if you can get the relevance of this given the episode.
So he's passed us. It looks like a mermaid's mirror.
Yeah, so I thought, do you get
reflection?
Yeah, so the theme's reflection. So, what I say to my patients, now obviously I'm back in practice. So that's been a big thing that I've had to reflect on over the last 2 years. Being back in practice, promote the podcast to lots of my patients. The feedback's always really positive. But one of the things I say to my patients is, when you look at yourself in the mirror, realise how wonderful you are. Be kind to yourself, and if you can, remind yourself that every morning. Don't look in the mirror and think that the world's a bad place and that everybody hates you. Always look in that mirror and think to yourself, I'm going to, take the bull by the horns today and make sure that today's a positive day, and you're not going to go far wrong. So love yourself, and I'm doing a Ringo now. Peace.
Oh, beautiful! Wow. Well, it's very emotional, and it really has. And as I say, it's a special thing that we're able to do, and it's beautiful. And long may it continue is what I say. And here's to the next 2 years. Amazing, boys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just one other thing, very quickly. Big shout out to my mate Keith, who tomorrow's his anniversary, died by suicide. So there you go. That's all.
You're listening to the Men's Mental Health Podcast, The Man Hug.
So our next guest was our first ever guest, and he joined us again on our first birthday. Actually, on our last show last month, we did a bit of stalking with Jake in Newcastle as well. So Jake, welcome back to the Man Hug.
Thank you. I feel like being the first guest, I set the bar incredibly low for everyone else who then raised the bar since. So I feel like coming back 2 years, the bar is a lot higher than when I initially came on.
No, not at all, because I don't think we've had a guest come on even twice. So you are technically coming on for the 4th time. But also, we hear your lovely voice on every single episode promoting the Hub of Hope as well. So you are our man hug ambassador, I'd say, really.
I'd happily wear that badge.
So the last year since the first birthday, lots has happened with Chasing the Stigma and the Hub of Hope. So let's hear all about it.
Yeah, so yeah, it's been quite a journey really with the Hub of Hope, and let's go right back to that beginning. Why it was created was to try and make support easier to find. But when I don't even know how old, but I was definitely in my 20s at the time. I didn't know anything about the amount of support that was available, and so when I started to have my eyes opened to support services that were around, which initially was 50 to 100, we just started to list it, and then it started to grow, and we thought, let's just put this into one place and make it as easy as possible to find. But when we'd done that, what we were thinking, or what I was thinking, was let's just give people a list of everything, so that when you go on it, you can just see everything that's in front of you. And that was fine, and that worked, but the amount of services that were listed within the directory started to grow and grow and grow. And the Hub of Hope now has 14,500 services listed in it. But the infrastructure kind of remained the same. So it didn't really, there's a lot of work and updates and add-ons along the way over those years. But it was still kind of built for being a directory of around 1,000 or a couple of thousand services and organisations. And in a way, what the ambition was to make it as simple and clear and user-friendly as possible. But by having more and more services, it actually, in a way, became quite overwhelming for people because there was too many options. So what we wanted to do was to try and find a way to almost restart it, and to say, right, okay, if we were starting from scratch but we had 14,500 services, how would we do this? And in some ways that might have been the organic starting point, if we were coming into this with a business plan, which we didn't, and you might have built all those things and had that, but we were coming into it with a lot of users using it, a lot of reputation behind it. So it's quite scary as well, because a lot of people love and rely on the Hub of Hope. So it's not something that we could do quickly. So what we did do, and sorry, just the other thing as well, is that we never knew anything about data. So when we started all of this, we didn't really know the power of data. So the Hub of Hope is completely anonymised. We don't collect any personal data for anyone, but we're able to see where mental health provision is, where mental health provision isn't, what type of support people are looking for based on geographical area or time of day or day of the month or week, and all of that information can be really, really useful. So we didn't know any of this. So it's been quite a journey. It's been well over a year. We were previously working with a local organisation in Liverpool called Mashbo, and they no longer exist now, and we were incredibly grateful for everything that they did do, because they were there from inception for us. But what we decided to do, which was the right thing to do, was to go out to an open tender. We put out a request for interest from different organisations. And yeah, we went on a really big piece of work where we wanted to find an organisation that could not only meet what we wanted to do from a technology point of view, but could also meet us as an organisation and our approach to this. So after a long time and finding the right organisation, we landed on an organisation called High Yield, which are based at the other end of the country to us, but in the way that we currently live and work at the moment, we're able to do that. We took an opportunity to go to them. They took an opportunity to come to us and come to the beach, which always sounds better than actual Crosby Beach in the winter. But and then so once we kind of had that, then it started the journey of how do we actually decide what is right. And so we spoke to a lot of people. We spoke to people that we know who use the Hub of Hope from a professional point of view. We spoke to people who use the Hub of Hope from a personal point of view. We spoke to people who will use it on the behalf of others. And we really try to understand how people want to use it, how they do use it, what's the capabilities, what's the ability. And then we started the rebuild. And so the Hub of Hope that you will see right now, if you download it or you visit hubofhope.co.uk, is a brand new version of the Hub of Hope that we all know and love. Big changes, some smaller changes, some big changes that you wouldn't see because they're in the back end. But one of the bigger changes that we kind of went for was that on the Hub of Hope, the way that it existed is that you would have a list of filters. And one of those filters was for young people or young person services. But the way that those filters were set up is that it's alphabetical. Yeah. And so if you wanted to look for a young person service, you had to scroll to the bottom. We tried to add something in where there's a little tick box but it was getting missed a lot. So what we decided to do was to change that user experience, and at the very beginning of going onto the Hub of Hope, we created a really clear young person's pathway. And so you can go on the Hub of Hope and you've got 3 options. One is young people support, one is older or adult support, and one is emergency support. And what that's meant is that we're able to get people access to that young person support really, really easily and quickly now. And that's been one of the biggest things that we've seen, is people now suddenly using that compared to what they were previously. As I said, there's loads of other things that have happened throughout that, but it's been a long piece of work, taking in a lot of people's responses and opinions. And also, if you ask one person's opinion, it's different to somebody else's. Yeah. So there's been a hell of a lot of work that's gone in it from the team. All of the team have done this. My role in this has been virtually non-existent. There's been a lot of work that's happened with the Chasing the Stigma team and the High Yield team. And we're incredibly proud of what we've got.
Definitely. It's so interesting just to hear how much work goes into this as well, because a lot of people, might be a bit naive to it, like myself, really, because, someone who's used the Hub of Hope from day one, and then you see the new version, like, oh, it's incredible, but you don't understand the amount of work and research and everything that's gone into making it what it is today.
It is, like, we've got an incredible team who work on the Hub of Hope, and all of them, it became their life. It became their life, as I say, for over a year. And then that's not even mentioning the actual tech team in High Yield who are actually building it. Like, it's. I think the other thing is that it becomes a real responsibility, because ultimately what we're trying to do is make that help as easy as possible to find. And by adding in other things, there's red lines that we didn't want to cross. There was things that maybe we previously thought were lines that we didn't want to cross, and actually that make it a little bit easier for people now. The infrastructure is huge, but one of the biggest benefits of what we've done through the new Hub of Hope has been allowed us to, it's almost future-proofed. So we now have built it in a way where we can build other things and we can slot other things in, and we can make changes much better, much quicker than what we could have previously done. And then the other thing as well is being able to collect and use and utilize data a lot better. So as I said, we never thought about data when we initially set this up. So we didn't set the infrastructure up to be able to collect that in the best possible way. And it's probably worth just mentioning, because sometimes people can get a bit nervous when you talk about data. For us, the data that we're able to collect and collate and to analyse is not about an individual looking and what they're looking at, but it's actually looking at the need. So what we have got through the Hub of Hope is the biggest map of mental health provision, where it is and where it isn't. And then through the use of the Hub of Hope, we're able to see actually the need. So we're able to see how people are looking for help and support, or where they're looking for help and support, and as I said, the time or the day, regardless of if that support is available. So data currently at the moment will be collected based on if someone's answering the phone or someone's responding to an email. Now, if there was a man in, or a group of men between the ages of 34 and 54 in Litherland, and suddenly we're all looking for self-harm support on a Sunday evening, and that support wasn't available, we'd be able to pick that up. And then what we can do is we can then talk to local commissioners or policymakers and say, well, maybe you should create a service, maybe you should put something in there. And that is how we can use data and evidence to build change and to build better equipped communities. The other aspect as well is that if suddenly we see loads of people are looking at a local voluntary sector organisation that are living off absolute buttons, we can actually advocate for them. We can say, well, actually, loads of people are now going to them, and they're not getting funded to do it. So we do it to advocate for the voluntary sector in particular as well. So what we can do, both on a national perspective, but also on a hyper-local perspective, can absolutely change commissioning policy, where services are. It can actually see whether the need is met by the support that's actually available. And as far as I'm aware, there's nowhere else where you can get that.
That's incredible, isn't it? And I suppose it's not something you considered at the very start of what Hub of Hope can achieve.
Absolutely not.
It's massive. When you see things like a public health profile for a city region, for example, gets published every year, what have you, and it's giving you all of rates of illnesses and conditions and deaths and all of these things, that can go such a long way for government, local government and council strategies for health going forward as well, which is something I bet they've never had the means to look at.
No, and I think what we've got to really think about, especially now in the way that we're currently living and working at the moment, is that money is precious. And whilst I'd never advocate for spending less money on mental health services, I think you can probably spend the same amount of money, just better, a lot better. Obviously we would be lobbying for spending more money, of course we would, but if you can at least use evidence to spend money and spend it fairly, spread it more evenly, looking at those community assets, make people help people stay well within their community by actually investing in community organisations, community assets. Let people have the trust within their own communities, but they can't do that alone. And so if we can evidence it, because what we're really, really conscious of, and I always will be, is that we're a directory that will just tell people about other support that's available. We're potentially pushing downhill. We don't want to do that. We don't want to, more than a third of our traffic to the Hub of Hope comes from NHS sources. We know that. There's a danger there then that people are either going to NHS and then finding the Hub of Hope, or being referred to the Hub of Hope via NHS sources, and are then saying go to these local groups who don't have the infrastructure or the financial support to be able to cope with that demand. So we don't want to push downhill, but we want to advocate for those so that we can actually, as I said, have that funding distributed more evenly and for longer term as well. I could get on my high horse about all this, but there's places to get on my high horse about it.
But it's because the passion's there, and you I said you and your team are living and breathing it, aren't you? So it's not just about the Hub of Hope. It's about all the things you discover in the journey, isn't it? And a lot of that will make you angry, and it will make you want to, bang the drum for these.
I think you've had organisations on the Man Hug who are saying very similar to me, and what makes me really sad and angry, but then there's an element of pride there as well, is that there's so many different organisations that have come from a place of loss or hurt or pain, who go, well, we're going to do it anyway. And what I'm proud of those organisations able to do it. But I do think that there's a lot of organisations that are almost victims of their own success, and that they just do it anyway. So they're left to their own devices to do it. And, you know, there's this idea that from a charity that you should be, you know, grateful for anything that you get, that you should have a cap in hand, and any money that you get at the end, you know, you're welcome, you can have that. A charity operates in the same way that any other business would. It wants to deliver the best possible service that it can do, and in order to deliver the best possible service that it can do, you have to get the best people, you have to get the best resources, you have to have the best equipment, or maybe not, you know, not extravagant, but you have to have the best of what you can get in order to deliver the best service. If you can't do that for free. And so this idea that, you know, we should just be out there shaking a bucket, it's old fashioned. And it's really kind of undermining the importance of what so many people are doing out there. It makes me really angry. That's what I kind of want to take from what we know about the Hub of Hope, to really advocate for those.
And I think that's a positive spin on it, is that you able to then, as you say, support these services where you're seeing that the traffic's going there and there's a need, and in a way it's kind of an evaluation for a lot of these services and organisations who are not equipped to have evaluations which prove how effective they are, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, through the Hub of Hope, naturally, what we want to do is give a platform to these organisations. There are people and organisations that say to us, we don't want to be on there because we can't cope with demand. And if we do go on there, then we're going to get more people coming to us. There's that's why I would love us to sit as a charity, as Chasing the Stigma. I'd love us to sit in between the people on the ground and the people who, you know, are making those decisions. That's where I want us to be. I want to be that bridge. I absolutely want to advocate for those people on the ground, because that's where I believe the money should be going and better spent. And to give a voice to those organisations. And it's hard on you know, several fronts. But I think we're getting there. We've done a big piece of work, and what we're able to demonstrate in evidence will only support those small organisations.
Massively, and as you say, I think it's the only way of finding that out nationally, really, you know, isn't it? It's so unique that it wasn't set up for this, but now the power of it is incredible, you know, and it can be used for all of these levels.
It is. It's terrifying as well in some ways, because the numbers that we are getting, you know, 1 million searches in a year. In the last year, it just shows just how many people want to look for that help and support. And the agility and the freedom that comes with that sector can only benefit. So we should be looking at an integrated care system, really, you know, a truly integrated care system, not an integrated care system that we currently have, which is, you know, kind of mostly led by NHS, and you know, the voluntary sector can sometimes have, you know, a little say every now and then. It needs to be really integrated with statutory services and voluntary services to work together. And as I said, the Hub of Hope is there to say, if you don't want to go to NHS services, you don't have to. It's there to say, if you are going to them and you need support in between, here's other support. And it's there to say, after you've been discharged, here's how you can stay well. You know, so it all makes sense that we should all be working together. But sometimes easier said than done, but that's what we're here to do.
Brilliant, and keep fighting it. In terms of, I say we've been all singing and dancing Hub of Hope since episode 1, and we continue to just tell everyone to download it and how amazing it is. For yourself, from, you know, the Hub of Hope being launched initially to now, what sort of like the big changes that you've seen with it? You mentioned there about like 1 million people using it in a year. I mean, that's pretty massive, isn't it? You know.
It is. It's scary, really. We have over 1 million searches last year. Over 300,000 people coming to us now to use that within a year, and it grows. It's growing year upon year. So I think in that last year it was a huge increase. I should have the figures. I think it's a 66% increase from the previous year. What we're seeing, as I said, the traffic sources that we're seeing is how many professionals now are using the Hub of Hope. We're over a third of our traffic coming from NHS. That demonstrates to us that people are going to NHS and either finding us or being referred to us, as I said. That, as I said, again, that integration of having the two or multiple sectors together shows that people don't just want a one size fits all. They want to have that all round care. Some of the other things that we're really noticing, we noticed that whilst there will be some concerns that are always the most searched for, like anxiety and depression, we see things throughout the year change as well, which is really, really interesting. So it fluctuates. So we will see financial support, happen around areas times that you may, budgets and elections and certain times of the year. We see self-harm has kind of gone up and come down as well. So we do see things. It's so interesting to look at the data and to see how different concerns are kind of in mass search for at different times of the year, which can be related to so many different things. It can be related to world events. It can be related to tragedies that are happening. It could be related to news stories. But it is constantly changing, and that's why we need to have this live information. We've got some incredible, powerful partnerships, likes of Network Rail, for example, where we're able to really share this information and this best way of working and try to help people in a much better way and reach them in, reaching people maybe through social media as opposed to, just having a sign up at a station, for example. Yeah. So we're being able to adapt, but that's the agility of what we do as well. It's that we can change our ways of doing things.
Amazing. Do you have, over the years that Hub of Hope's been out there, have you got any stories? Obviously not naming the people that use it, but have you got any nice stories that really stick out for you?
Yeah, and apologies if I've told this story, I don't know. One of the I suppose the tricky things is that we'll never know. We'll never know the true impact of what we have, and what we've achieved. But there was, did I tell you when I was at Parkrun? Did I tell you that?
No, I don't think so.
So done Parkrun, and I had one of our t-shirts on, and on the back of it had Hub of Hope, and I was just running on my own, and there was two women behind me, and one of the women said to the other, have you heard of Hub of Hope? And she said no, and she explained exactly what it was, and explained how it works, and then the other woman was like, do you know what, that's exactly what I need. And then I don't know if they took a photo or we had a QR code on the back of the t-shirt, but hearing somebody else explain what we do it was a real moment for me, a real moment of pride. I think I also got a PB because I couldn't then let them fall behind. So I couldn't fall behind them just from a PR experience and exposure. I had to constantly stay in front of them. But it was just, we sometimes from time to time hear people will often tell us when we go places about how much they value it. But just hearing that on I say this without any disrespect to professionals who we hear from, but if we're going to a conference or we're speaking at something and people tell us about it, it's great, it's lovely, we want to hear about it. Hearing about it in the wild almost was different. And it's, as I said, it's just one of those things that we accept that once you use the Hub of Hope, you go on, you get help. Hopefully you build your life back together, you get the support that you need, and you never need to come back. And that's fine. But to be able to hear those little stories like what we do means the world to us, because it makes it a little bit more real.
I think one of the things that makes it so special is that the accessibility to it. It's for all ages. It's for any walk of life, really. And people will use it and they will find whatever it is that they're looking for, but they're given options as well. And I think that's something that, as a mental health practitioner, often we don't have that at our fingertips. It's CBT or there's certain options we can give people, but we know that not one thing works for everyone, whereas with the Hub of Hope, it's about finding things that you can try and find something that's going to work for you, really, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. If you a music shop that you know, don't even know if they're still going. No,
got one or two of them.
Yeah, you go into a record store. It's not all one genre, is it? You know, everyone's approach to everything in life is down to taste, is down to personality, is down to what makes you tick. And it's bizarre that we should have a health system that is like one size fits all to everyone, because it doesn't work. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to create something that just said there's options, there's choices, find what's right for you. I'm a big believer in giving people the choices, giving them the options, even if they never use it. Because I know, you know, all of this is built from my own lived experience, so I can only talk about myself. But I know from me is that if I was feeling unwell or I was not feeling in the best place and I had a look and I went, okay, there's options there if and when I feel like I need it. I've prepared myself a little bit. I know that there's options, and I can make that kind of assessment myself, or others for me maybe, but you know, I can look at it and go, right, I know it's there. I don't need it now, but I know it's there for when I do feel like I need it. And so just give people the choices. Like, honest to God, the amount of conversations that I have to have with people who say, yeah, but you know, these services have referrals that you have to go in and you have to ask for a GP to refer you, so we can't put that on there. Why? Tell people it's got a referral. Tell them, so they can then go into a GP and ask for the referral for that. Give people the options, give them the information. Don't gatekeep it. Give them all of the information. If there's a service that requires a referral, put it on the Hub of Hope and tell people it requires a referral, and tell them how they can get that referral. Give them the information. It's really just treat people like people, and give them the respect of giving them the information.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? You know, that could be the one that's, you know, most suitable for someone, but as you say, it's being gatekept. In terms of, you know, if people are listening and they're running groups or charities or organisations and they want to get on the Hub of Hope, what's the process for them?
So anybody can register to be on there. We have our own QA process, so you wouldn't automatically go on there. We'd go through everything, and we'd get in touch with everyone as well before we register them on the Hub of Hope. But if you go on the app, which is Hub of Hope, it's free on different app stores or on hubofhope.co.uk. There's an option on the Hub of Hope itself that says to register your service, and you can register your service there. That could just come through to us. So the only thing that I'd say is be patient as well, because we get a lot of people coming through asking to be registered. It's unusual for us to deny anybody access on there, but we have the process and the QA process for obvious reasons as well. But yeah, anyone can register to be on there, and we'll have a conversation with you about how we can make you a live service on the Hub of Hope. But if you offer support, get yourself on there.
Yes, there you go. If you are listening, then just it's an easy process, and get on there, because as we said, it's so important. So many people are accessing the Hub of Hope to find some support. So get your groups on there. So that's kind of the Hub of Hope in a sense. But Chasing the Stigma, you guys are doing all kinds of things as well. So yeah, give us a little bit of an update on the charity then.
Yeah. So it's funny actually, because people often don't even know Chasing the Stigma exists. They just know the Hub of Hope, which shows how successful that's been as a platform. So Chasing the Stigma is the charity, it's the registered charity, national charity, and the Hub of Hope is a product of that. We also have Ambassador Hope training programs, which again, what we try to do through that, again, simplify it, make it really accessible, make it available to everybody. So the training that we have produced through the Ambassador Hope training is not to make people experts, but to try to reach as many people as possible and give them, equip them with enough skills to have a conversation, which is, you know, up to an hour for those conversations. I know that you've done that and been a trainer for that as well.
I've got to say, they are incredible sessions, and I think what makes the Ambassadors of Hope training stand out for me, and I've seen and done a lot of them over the years, I think is it takes that often sometimes unnecessary pressure off people. So whereas certain workforces, but where I've seen where they maybe train people in other mental health types of training, it then puts like a bit of a high-vis jacket on this person. It's like, right, they're the person that you go to now if any problems.
Exactly.
And what I love about the Ambassador for Hope, it just teaches you that you don't have to be the professional, but it will certainly help you in being able to find those people. And your signposting skills will just be a next level. It's just an incredible piece of training.
And that's exactly right, is that we don't want to put people on a pedestal and say they are now the mental health people.
Yeah.
You can absolutely have other training, and you can have tiers of training and levels of training, but we just want to give everyone almost a permission. That's almost what we're doing, is give people the permission. So we would like to go into organisations and train everybody. That's how we do it. We've worked with a whole range of different organisations, like the DBS office trained all their staff, and we're preferred supplier to the Premier League, construction, universities, and everyone in between. And then also we've got a number of other things, but one really notable one is that we've got a physical site in London as well now, called Hope in the Community Westminster. And what we've been able to do that is almost create a physical hub of hope. So we worked with the NHS Trust Central North West London, and they have a space in a hospital, or former hospital, in the heart of Westminster. We actually transformed a former Section 136 suite. So it was a horrible place, which I'm sure you can appreciate. Cells and everything is horrific. We actually worked with them, and we ripped everything out. We designed it. So I worked directly with the architect. We used thesis and information from students in Liverpool, actually, who worked on this for a number of years ago. We completely redesigned it and made it look like a non-NHS space. And what we've done is we took the information and the data from the Hub of Hope, and we said, actually, there's a lot of people looking for help and support from voluntary sector organisations that aren't actually available in this area. And so we transformed this space, and we made it a free bookable space for the voluntary sector organisations to run their services from. And so now we've got a monthly calendar of events that happen, delivered by voluntary sector organisations. The space is subsidised by the trust. So again, it's using your money better. And then these organisations can come in, run their service for an hour or two, whatever, bring people into this NHS building for other reasons. And then it's that integration. So, because these organisations can't afford rent in the heart of Westminster, so they're running their service from there. It's the integration. So people who are being discharged from the NHS services can go into there. People who have never been using NHS services can come in via there, and then maybe find about the NHS services. So that's what we've been able to do. And as I said, it's branded as ours. So it's Hope in the Community Westminster with our logo and colours and everything else. It doesn't look like NHS, but it's how we can work together. So we've done that. And the idea is that it can be anywhere. So anybody who wanted to do their own can do their own. It's something that we're happy to talk to anyone about. But just using that data to actually drive that change. That
could be such an incredible idea to roll out, couldn't it? You probably got the evaluated data now of how successful this is in Westminster area, but as you say, you've probably got the pockets of information off the Hub of Hope of where people are looking for things that might not exist yet on their doorstep. What an easy way of putting things in there, like a one-stop shop. It's just mega.
And it's, as I said, it's spending money more wisely. It wouldn't take a lot.
Wow.
It's... I will take you one day.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll take you to see it, because it's a beautiful space. And it is working. We actually... we launched that in February. February last year. So it's been just over a year.
Wow.
So it's been just over a year, and it's going from strength to strength.
God. And we had Chris from Chasing the Stigma on our live. We did a nursing live man hug.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it. How did he do?
He was brilliant. Well, it was a live one, so it went out to all of the nurses that came to the conference. So one of the things he was saying at the time was that looking for organisations to back and sponsor parts of Chasing the Stigma. Is this something that's still going?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the Hub of Hope, is brilliant as it is, and all these success stories that we're talking about, we're not funded.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not funded by anyone. So talking about a third of traffic coming from NHS, talking about being written into government strategies and suicide prevention strategy. We don't receive any funding.
Yeah, he was saying things like airlines and all big, massive,
So
huge
we know, because we can see where the traffic's coming from. We know that, calling them out, they might listen. The likes of Vodafone, for example, we know that they have a webpage that says if you're struggling to pay, or because of your mental health, go to Hub of Hope. No, they don't talk to us. They haven't told us that they're doing it. We've tried to contact them. We haven't heard from them. We know that there's massive organisations who value what we do, signpost people to us, but don't talk to us. And actually, the more people who use the Hub of Hope, the more it costs us. Yeah. And as I said, right now we don't receive any grants, any funding to do what we do. So we have to get money wherever we can. So what we want to do is to try to work with anyone who, whether we work strategically, whether there's sponsors, sponsorship opportunities, to fundraising for us, anything, because the simple truth of it is that we haven't got a runway for the next year. No. If you're asking me what money would we have in our bank account this time next year, I don't know whether there would be any. And I'm not saying that to I'm only saying this at this stage because I'm not saying it to kind of be like scaremongering or anything like that, but the reality is we're always at all times probably 7 months from being closed. And what we have to do, our existence, is to move that 7 months to 8 to 9. But we're always 7 months from being closed. That's the reality of being a small national charity like us.
Yeah. And it just doesn't make any sense, does it? Where every person that we have on here is on the Hub of Hope, and every person we know uses it, and it needs to be backed and supported by these people who hold to the purse strings, because it's without being dramatic, it saves lives, and it's bringing people to the support that they don't know exists on their doorstep, and half the time, and everything else. And it really does need the support back. And so hopefully people get round the table sooner rather than later and start doing this.
What we would hate is, and for obvious reasons we would, but we'd hate for us to not be here and people to go, that's a shame, we could have done more. It wouldn't take much. No, it really wouldn't take much. We run so lean, but we're having to get our money ourselves. So anyone who's willing to help in any way, please just talk to us. We don't want to just take and leave. We want to work with people as well. So if you know anyone from Vodafone, just let me know, because I'm reaching out on LinkedIn and getting blanked.
Richard Branson of Virgin and all the rest.
Exactly.
So you just mentioned there as well, fundraising as well. It's a huge thing, isn't it? And you over the years you've been supported with lots of people doing marathons and all kinds of glorious things as well. So again, if people are listening and they've got something coming up, don't think it's too small an amount. Everything helps for charities such as Chasing the Stigma. So please do whatever you can as well. Anything else sort of like on the pipeline? Anything else in terms of Chasing the Stigma, any events?
Well, things never stop. So we're currently planning our year ahead. In terms of the Hub of Hope, our head of digital said to me in an interview, and she said it every single day since, is that it is never finished. It will never be finished. So there's always something else in terms of the hub itself, in terms of volunteering. Anyone who's interested in volunteering, please do let us know in terms of those physical spaces, in terms of our plans, in terms of world domination. We're not going to be put off by the current climate. We're going to be, if anything, we want to do more. So anything that anyone would like to get involved in, and just be aware of what we do, and follow us on all the socials to keep up to date with everything that we're doing.
Yeah, and that's a good plug for the socials as well, because as you say, it often might be the catalyst for people to get involved, especially with volunteering and fundraising and that. So Chasing the Stigma, it's on everything really, isn't it? The Instagram and
on all of those,
all of those,
MySpace, everything. We're available. You can find us. We're just Chasing Stigma. Stigma on
Yeah,
those.
I'm going to give a shout out as well, because we're doing a Hub of Hope-a-thon here next month. And for those who are wondering what a Hub of Hope-a-thon is, it's where we get lots of volunteers together and we ring up a lot of these organisations in this sort of vetting process and before they go live on Hub of Hope. Once again, I put a call out, see if I could get, a couple of volunteers. I think we're on about 20 at the moment, which is just mega. It's and it's rising by the day. So if you are listening, which I'm sure you will, because I'll be sending this podcast out before you do the Hub of Hope-a-thon, thank you so much for volunteering your time. You would have heard from Jake's passion and why this is such an incredible thing, and it's going to be from volunteers like yourselves helping to put more services onto it.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
And honestly, what you're able to do through that, and getting, you might think about it as like an admin thing, but you get one service back on there that might have expired or might be a request that's come through. You get that on there, you don't know who then is going to access that, who's then going to come from a place of despair to hope. And so the impact of what you'll be able to do is going to be huge, much bigger than what maybe you think.
Definitely. Yeah, that's such a lovely way of looking at it, isn't it, really? Jake, thank you again for joining us. So honoured to have you on the very first episode, which I've got to say now as well, and you're going to love this. It's the most listened to episode, is episode 1.
Well, that's because of my mum.
Right?
Yeah, she's
just playing
to
it all the time.
Every time I go round, she's playing the same episode.
She's like, Alexa, play episode 1. we thought it was because it's episode 1, so when everyone's listening to the podcast, they go, "Oh, go back to the first one and try it there."
Yeah, or they listen to that and went, "I'm not listening to it anymore."
Yeah, it's the most popular one. So yeah, but you came back for our first birthday, and you're here for our second birthday as well. But amazing, thank you so much.
No, thank you. You told me I've got 10 minutes, so hopefully that was 10.
No, it's great. And I said the only person I've said on this podcast that I would vote for health minister was Alfie from Alfie's Squad.
Yes.
Which you probably agree. You've met him. He's an absolute legend. So passionate, and everything he said was just so inspiring. And someone that you want, but you're getting my second vote for health minister. I think,
I'll be in Alfie's office. That's fine.
Yeah. I think we all would. We'd all work for Alfie, wouldn't we? Amazing, Jake. Thanks for joining us for our second birthday.
No, congratulations! It's a huge achievement, and I'm very honoured to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, and you're now an honorary Man Hug ambassador, I'd say as well.
Well, amazing. I will. Yeah, I'll wear that badge with pride.
Cheers, Jake. Thank you.
Thank you.
So follow us on Instagram at the Man Hug Podcast.